Welcome to my presentation for my web-based learning object called Introduction to Division by Alyssa Bigelow. Background. I'm currently designing a 14-week pre-health math course for fully online delivery. This course has traditionally been taught face-to-face in the classroom, but our college is moving towards increasing our course offerings online in order to offer students more flexible learning options. This math course has been identified as one to be offered online in the fall. It is being delivered in 14 weekly sections using the Blackboard LMS, which acts as a container to house the course content, assessments, and collaborative activities for each week of learning. Each week, students will complete a pre-test to determine their knowledge before engaging in the lesson. They will then complete an interactive lesson component to learn and review key mathematical concepts, followed by a post-test to measure their learning. The WBLT I am developing for this project is a small unit about division that will be part of a larger weekly module about whole numbers and numeracy. The module in its entirety contains units for addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Audience. The intended audience is pre-health students at a community college. The pre-health program is a one-year certificate that has been designed to assist students in determining which health science program will best suit their needs. It provides students with the opportunity to examine the expectations of the various health science disciplines and to assess their suitability and compatibility in relation to these expectations. Students entering the pre-health program are typically recent high school graduates or mature students wishing to return to post-secondary education. They may wish to access this program to enrich their knowledge of health science-related courses and obtain necessary prerequisites for health science-related programs. Goals. The goal of this WBLO is to provide mature students who are returning to post-secondary education with the skills that will enable them to be successful within health science-related programs at the college. This math course will be offered in a fully online format in an effort to reach more students and provide those who may not be able to physically attend classes on campus with the opportunity to enhance their skills before entering a health sciences-related program. This math course has traditionally been taught in a face-to-face setting and has required a lot of thought and planning to ensure that the experience that is being created is applicable to the healthcare field, relevant to the learner, easy for the student to use and navigate, as well as offer active learning and engagement opportunities to support the student through their learning process in a way similar to a traditional classroom setting. If we apply the principles of andragogy, as outlined by theorist Malcolm Knowles, to computer-based learning, it is suggested that adult learners who participate in computer-based instruction require an explanation of rationale and why they are being taught something. Instruction should be task-oriented. Instruction should take into consideration the wide range of skill level and background amongst the students, and enable the students to discover the knowledge for themselves while receiving guidance when necessary. The design of my WBLO includes pieces that address each one of these principles. Technology. I'm using Storyline 2 to create my WBLO. Storyline 2 is the latest version of e-learning software produced by Articulate. It is an e-learning course authoring program that has the capability for the designer to not only present content, but to build and seamlessly integrate interactive objects such as drag and drop activities, mouse over to reveal interactions, software simulations, integrated assessment, screencasts, and other forms of video into the lessons. The resulting lessons can be published in a number of formats such as HTML5 for web-based and mobile distribution, or to SCORM or tin can format for LMS integration, and are launched using a multimedia player. I have used the tools within the program to create animated motion paths, timeline-based audio narration, and video clips to mimic the face-to-face lecture component that has traditionally been offered. I've also used a program called VideoScribe to create a whiteboard animation videos that illustrate some of the examples with fully narrated descriptions as well. An empirical study conducted at Columbia University in 2013 has concluded that system-controlled animation and direct manipulation animations aid students with the construction of knowledge better than static visuals and can be an effective method for content presentation. Buttons have been used throughout the course to add interactivity and engage the student as they complete tasks and navigate through the WBLO. Hotspot and mouse over areas have been used and require the student to physically click or position their mouse on the answer to questions posed as they proceed through the unit. This interactivity supports the needs for kinesthetic learners. Interactive practice activities have also been used to provide the students with the opportunity to complete a series of practice questions and demonstrate their learning. Pedagogy and andragogy. Students will begin by accessing the module for whole numbers and numeracy from within the Blackboard environment and progress through each unit, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, as guided by audio narration and navigation buttons. The units in each module have been organized into a framework consisting of sections that explain a concept, demonstrate examples, and allow the student to practice what they have learned. The units have been structured and support the behaviorism learning theory when dealing with mathematical concepts. Behaviorism learning theory is one in which students learn the subject matter through a stimulus to response pattern. Math is a subject that is very difficult to teach. It is one that requires the explanation of a concept and an abundance of practice to provide reinforcement opportunities, so careful consideration to learning theory that supports this methodology of teaching and learning has been made. The division unit I am creating for my WBLO begins by outlining the mathematical concept of division. The division unit consists of one-place division, two-place division, dividing for remainder 0, and how to divide when remainders are greater than 0. Each concept will be conveyed using animated and narrated explanations that are intended to mimic the face-to-face environment and align with the andragogical theory that suggests students require an explanation of rationale when participating in computer-based instruction. After each concept is explained, the students will be given some examples of how to solve questions related to the concept. In each of these example sections, students will have the chance to interact with the lesson content. For example, the student may be directed to click on a hotspot area on the screen to identify the answer to a question the instructor may pose, or to hover over a specific object on the screen for more information related to the concept. This piece takes into account the task-oriented nature required to support andragogy in a computer-based instruction environment. Once the examples for each concept have been demonstrated, the students are given the opportunity to reinforce their learning by answering a series of practice questions. The questions have fill-in-the-blank answer spaces which are tabulated upon completion and a score is assigned. Students are encouraged to not use calculators, but rather work through the process using a piece of paper and a pencil. Upon completion of each practice section, the students have the opportunity to click a button to review their answers, or they can click a button to return back to the beginning slide for each concept to review the unit and complete the practice activities again. The branching nature of this component enables students to personalize their learning path and takes into account the varying levels of skill amongst the students. Those who may not be comfortable with the subject matter can review and retry the quiz, whereas the students who are comfortable are able to progress to the next concept. Once each concept within the unit has been completed and the entire module is finished, the students are directed to a post-quiz within Blackboard. The instructor can then compare the results from the pre-test to those of the post-test to determine the effectiveness of the lesson for each student. Implementation and evaluation. I plan to complete the WBLO within the next week and have selected a test group comprised of colleagues and students to try it out. Because the WBLO is part of a larger unit, it is difficult to measure the effectiveness of it as a standalone entity. However, for the purpose of this project, I intend to use the WBLT evaluation scheme outlined in Appendix A of Evaluating Learning Design and Engagement in Web-Based Learning Tools, the WBLT evaluation scale as presented in paper by Dr. Robin Kay, to solicit feedbacks from the test subjects. I feel the questions have been sufficiently validated and offer appropriate feedback to determine if the WBLO was effective and meets the needs for the given students. Ultimately, the success of the WBLO can be measured by the difference between the pre-test scores and the post-test scores during the actual course delivery. This concludes my presentation on my WBLO entitled Introduction to Division. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have back in Adobe Connect.